Hi, I'm Pedro, and for this video I would like you to imagine that you want to create a piece of music using the chromatic scale. As you know, the Western tuning system is comprised of these 12 notes, the chromatic scale, so it kind of means that you could go off in any direction and do whatever. But this can be a bit off-putting, as there are too many approach possibilities. And too many choices is not always a good thing, right? So I would like to present to you one way to harness the power of the chromatic scale by using a polytonal approach, and use this concept as your guide to create chromatic harmony and melodies with a twisted, quirky vibe. Let's tackle the melody first. A nice way to introduce chromaticism is by mashing up two or intersecting two or more scales, but let me show you how this works. So, E minor scale contains the notes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and D, while E major, the notes are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D sharp. By intersecting these two modes, we get the notes E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B, C, C sharp, D, and D sharp. As you can see and hear, you almost get the full chromatic scale, only missing the F and the A sharp. In the following example, I chose the pitch E as a reference to pick modes or key areas like E Phrygian, E Dorian, E diminished, or A Lydian, which is from the E major key. I color-coded the pitches so it's easier for you to see what I was thinking in terms of where I got the melodic fragments from. So the way I created these melodies was by thinking of getting in and out of the context of these modes, or just using the chromatic bits as a result of the modes being mashed up. And this is what I used to produce the upper register melodic materials. Overall, I think that this is a good approach to avoid the haphazard choice of notes when you wish to create this type of effect in your melodies. As for what I did to create the polytonal effect in the A section, I used an ostinato in the bass that is based on the E minor 7th chord from E Phrygian, and with some occasional flirts with the chromatic scale, alongside with everything I just mentioned for the upper register melody. Here's how it sounds. It is worth saying that my main concern was with register separation and assuring that each instrument occupies its space or area without getting in the way of other instruments. Also, I was thinking more in terms of melody rather than harmony. Regarding the B section, I wanted to create a contrast with less movement and to relieve tension. For the most part, the melody you hear uses pitches from the E major key. It starts with the C sharp minor 7th chord, but then I surprise you with a D major 7th chord, which I'm borrowing from A major, a nearby key, so no worries about clashing with the melody at that point. Then I return to C sharp minor 7, but instead of repeating the same half step up chord movement to a D major, I borrowed a D sharp dominant chord, a whole step up from C sharp minor. The choice of it being major and dominant is due to what I was hearing in my head in terms of what the bass and melody should be doing at that moment. That's the spot where I had to change a couple of melody pitches to accommodate the new chord. I wanted it to sound pretty. When using this polytonal way of thinking and organizing your materials, the chord options can also increase substantially. I usually think of the available chords originated from one key center or the other, the ones I'm working with. And then I can choose to alter certain chord tones using pitches from the other key. For instance, I have a C sharp minor from E major key, which can be turned into a C augmented if I just introduce the C natural from E Phrygian. This is pretty much what happened near the end of the B section, but with another chord thrown in the mix, that D sharp dominant chord you heard before. And since we are working with two key areas, you can also create polychord structures using chords from one key on the bottom and another from the other key on the top, such as in this example announcing the return to the A section with a bang. That's a B major over C major polychordal structure. I also was able to return to the A section in a more seamless way because I managed to reintroduce some elements of what was to come next, like a musical foreshadowing. I talked about this in this video that will be shown here, about how to connect different sections in your arrangements. The link to it is also in the description along with other reference links to help you with anything you might need to follow this video. Another example of foreshadowing was what I did in the intro section to kind of prepare what was going to happen on the A section. Alright, and now it's time to hear the full example. Let's hear it and how it all sounds put together. And that was it. I hope that you enjoyed this type of approach, and if you like to embrace experimentation and apply this to your music, just follow the steps or guidelines that I just showed you. If you want to suggest our ideas, please share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. As always, check the links in the description and also the Beyond Music Theory blog, where you'll find lots of other useful information, as well as courses, online coaching, and the Beyond Music Theory ebook. Thanks for watching, and until next time.